Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this wonderful panel and discussion we're going to have. First, I want to give a big shout out to Inside Real Estate and RISMedia for putting this group together for this wonderful discussion. And today we're going to talk about relationships and specifically how we talk about relationships in our industry consistently and how we can consistently work from transactional and the way that we work in our business, focusing on transactions to more of a relationship-based business, which is what we all talk about and aspire to be. So I'm excited to introduce our panelists today. I'm going to start with myself. I'm moderating, and I'm very grateful to be here. And I'm Kevin Van Eck. I'm a principal with Mavericks Advisory. And I work with brokerages and prop tech companies in 3 different areas, leveraging my experience in brokerage over 18 years. And the 3 areas I work in are growth, and that can be everything from recruiting to regional growth and expansion. And then in operational efficiencies and making sure that we are looking at the workflows and work streams within brokerages and within prop tech companies to leverage the strengths. And then the third is profitability. Of course, top line revenue only matters if you can drop it to the bottom. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first panelist. And she's also our sponsor for today. This is Julia Lauren, who's the Chief Product Officer over at Inside Real Estate. Hi, Julia.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you. Yes. Hi, everyone. Julia Lauren, Chief Product Officer here at Inside Real Estate. I'm thrilled to be here with this group today. Just a quick background. I actually have a bit of an unconventional path into technology. I actually started as a litigation attorney, and I was first attracted to like the analytical rigor of practicing law. But what I ultimately discovered I loved was the empathy you really develop for that person who walks through the door with a real problem. And it turns out that's exactly what great product management is. So I made the leap, and I've been building products for people ever since, in areas as diverse as healthcare, transportation, academia, just to name a few. And, a lot of industries have a version of a similar story, which is fragmented and disconnected workflows that were ripe for disruption and a better way. Really people forced to wrestle with technology that wasn't built for them, and the opportunity to really change that. And residential real estate and prop tech is that story times 1,000. And what makes it genuinely exciting is that the technology is finally catching up to the complexity of what agents and brokers actually do every day. So that's what I get to lead at Inside Real Estate, building products that, don't just kind of add power and capability, but can actually change and streamline how people work and how they get to show up for their clients. So can't wait to get into it with this panel.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, it's really cool that you get to bring an outside perspective into the industry. And so thank you for participating, and thank you for being a partner on today's webinar.
My pleasure.
All right, let's take it next to Brian Chisholm. And Brian is the broker owner of Next Home Chisholm Realty. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Next Home Chisholm Realty, we're in Brandenburg, Kentucky, which is a small little town about an hour kind of southwest of Louisville, near Fort Knox. So if you've heard of the Gold Vault, where they apparently store all the gold in the world, or in the U.S. at least, that's in our back door. As you can imagine, a lot of our business in this area is military families coming in and out, PCSing. So Brandenburg itself is about 3,000 people, but we serve the greater area as well. So Elizabethtown, Louisville, and then across the river into Indiana. I kind of started in the business on a whim. Someone said, you should try it when I got out of college. I kind of blew it off and didn't want to do it at first. And then here we are almost 10 years later. 5 of those as a broker, started out on my own with an independent company, and then transitioned to the Next Home franchise. This is Luke behind me. He's our orange mascot. Everybody loves Luke. We have a small office here in Kentucky, but continuing to grow. I'm kind of the school of thought, and I think we're going to talk about it, having the right people on the bus. So I'd rather be small and grow strategically. And then we also have a property management company as well. So we help people on that front as well. I'm looking forward to talking to everybody today.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for being here. And yes, looking forward to what you have to share from your perspective. And anytime a friend or someone tells you to just try it, would you recommend that that person just tries it?
It's turned out pretty good for me, so I can't say it was a bad thing, I guess.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Brian. And now to our third panelist, Deanne Golden, and she's the president and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties. Deanne, thanks for joining today.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you all, Brian, Julia, and Kevin, and just delighted to be here. I am privileged to serve our company here in Georgia. And although I like Luke, we're Georgia Bulldogs here, so that would run through with being in Georgia, in our great state. We've got 24 locations covering majority of the state of Georgia, and we have 1,250 extraordinary sales consultants. This is actually our 63rd year in business. Does not make us sound old at all. It makes us hopefully sound proven and weathering every market. We do provide brokerage along with the complete real estate experience with mortgage, title, insurance, and warranty, and property management and relocation. And this is my 31st year in the industry. I started as a receptionist, and someone said I needed a receptionist, and I said, I'll learn how. And here I am 31 years later doing this incredible business, and I love it. I'm also vice chair of the Georgia Real Estate Commission, which has been a unique opportunity to see the industry from that side. And just great to be with you all today.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Deanne. Yeah, I bet you get to see from a different perspective, especially with everything that's been happening in the industry. And that's not necessarily what we're going to talk about today, but I want to toss it back to Julia to give us a little bit of insight from the inside real estate perspective.
Absolutely. So, for those of you who are less familiar with Inside Real Estate, we're a trusted technology partner to nearly 400,000 top brokerages, agents, and teams. Our flagship platform is Bold Trail, which is a true growth engine that brings lead generation, marketing automation, CRM, back office solutions, recruiting solutions, and best-in-class integrations together in a single place. And with Core Home, which is our home ownership lifecycle platform, we help agents stay connected to their clients through search, transaction, and well beyond, because that relationship shouldn't end when the keys are handed over. And so, yes, I am the technology person here on our webinar, that's on building relationships. I do recognize the irony, but that's really why I'm so excited about this conversation. Because I believe our industry is at a real inflection point. We see every day there's more technology available than ever before. And yet I see that the brokers and agents who are truly winning aren't the ones with the most tools or the most complex kind of tool sets. They're really the ones who are using those to free themselves up to do what they best, which is to listen, understand their customer needs, and really show up fully for their clients. And that's the same philosophy behind Bold Trail. I really can't think of better people to dig into this with than Kevin, Brian, and Deanne today. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear from your perspective. You mentioned you from outside the industry, but also you get to work with so many different brokerages and brokerage leaders, so you can see how technology is being used, and we'll definitely get to that. So let's kick it right off with a very basic question. And we talk about relationships from day one in this industry, that it's a relationship-based business. But let's start with you, Brian. What does that actually mean?
Well, it's an overused term, I think, but to me, it's about the people and the people that we serve. It's the humans that are part of the transactions, but it's about that lifetime of relationships with them, so that we're helping them maybe buy their first home, repeatedly helping them over time along the way with whatever their needs may be, and being a resource for them even when it's not maybe time to transact, helping them with service providers and things that they may need. It's that whole product, and really being a resource and a friend to them, in my opinion.
Deanne, you have something to add to that? That was good, Brian. Just the holistic view of outside of the transaction and long term, and that's the goal so many of us have, right?
I couldn't agree more with what Brian said. And, if you think about the past decade, if you look at that time frame, right now, the average homeowner is staying in their home 11 to 13 years. If they're in the baby boomer generation, they've been in there longer. And if the average realtor, based on the latest statistics, are lasting in the industry about 8 years, homeowners are outliving the lifespan of a realtor. And so we have to put the relationship back into the equation, and we've got to be there for a really long time for our people if we're going to be in a relationship business. And Brian, you said it so well, and Kevin, we say it, We talk about relationships, but do we really prove it? And do we prove it every day, inside and out? And also not just at point of transaction. To me, the closing should just be the beginning, right? It needs to be a real relationship. If you look at the word relationship, right, the definition's connection. I'd love to rewrite the word in real estate and have it start with an REAL, right? Think about it, real relationships to moving forward to get us back centered. And as Julia said, we're going to talk a lot about it today, but we have the ability to be more real, to be in front of our people more, and be building those relationships, listening, caring, showing empathy, sympathy when we're trusted with dealing with people's most important financial asset. And that move, not just one move, but every move and all the points in between when they need home services. So I'm really passionate about this topic. I'm really grateful for you all bringing it to us today to talk about this. So thank you so much, but could not agree more. And after 31 years, there's going to be technology. There's going to be disruption. There's going to be new bells and whistles and new shiny pennies. But at the end of the day, what's going to maintain is resilience and a concern for others and placing people first. So pretty passionate about this topic. Thank you, Kevin.
That's great. Yeah, I think what's interesting, you just mentioned all these distractions that are happening around us. So at a philosophical level, we can all say the same thing. We know it's being overused, but where I'd really like to get into is more of the tactical ways now that we can ensure that we're running a relationship-shaped business just like we present. And sometimes the way we present that is in our value proposition as a brokerage, whether it's to our agents or our agents to their consumers. So when we talk about value proposition, I'd love to stick with you, Deanne. If I'm an agent interviewing at your brokerage or 5 different brokerages, do they sound the same when we all say we're relationship based?
Well, again, I'll take my role as president and CEO off for a moment. I'll put on the vice chair of the Georgia Real Estate Commission, because I get the opportunity to ask agents that very question, even outside of the brokerage. And to an agent going through and trying to select a company, whether they're a new agent or they're currently in the business and maybe trying to look for what's outside of where they planted and hopefully we're going to bloom, is they feel featured and benefited to death. And what I mean by that is when they go interview 5 different companies, if you really polled them, if we took time and did a real research project on what were the differentials, what would be the long-term gain for them, which one was providing a tech stack versus a real entrenched growth strategy and able to really be their advocate and move forward, does the technology even meet their needs? Those are the things that when you're spending time getting to know new talent, as I like to call them, whether again they're new or in the business but looking for a new start, you want to find out what has brought them there and what value are they seeking, because we're normally trying to tell them what we provide and what we think they need. And I challenge us all to stop and really reflect about what the person needs. And, when it comes to the value proposition, we actually even recently redefined our mission, vision, and core values. Who we are is never going to change. But we really tried to bring in an intentional forefront to put the word people focused in one of our 4 core values and to be there for all of life's moves. We wanted to make certain that, yes, innovation is there and technology is there, but we want to be the drivers of the relationship, because the business is going to be cyclical and we've got to be there in the good times and also the challenging times. And only a relationship is going to carry. Sometimes my team will hear me talk about KPIs, not just key performance indicators, but it's also really having a strategy to keep people ingrained in your culture and with you, because every time someone changes companies or stops, they're putting a pause in their business. So to me, again, when it comes to the value proposition, I think we need to start with understanding the person. And then are we going to be able to marry with what we bring in our culture, our resources, yes, our tools, yes, our CRMs, yes, our technology. But at the end of the day, is there going to be a trust factor between the two of us to grow as a real relationship? Because relationships aren't always easy and you've got to have that grounding. So it's a great question. I appreciate you asking it. It's actually made me reflect on, how we're having that first interaction with our people when we have the opportunity to talk to someone.
That's right. You know, a lot of times we're so excited about what we have to offer and we start laundry listing, but is that what agents actually want? So, Brian, I want to go to you. What do you think or know that agents actually want?
I think it really varies based on the agent and what they need and where they're at with their business. I think to Deanne's point, so many times we try to go in with the shiny tools and the shiny objects that we think are so wonderful, and they may be, but it may not be what that person needs right now in their moment in life and their business. So when I go into a conversation like that, I oftentimes just try to let them lead the conversation and try to find out, why are they here today? What is it that they need? What are they not getting at their current brokerage? And I've oftentimes found sometimes it's really simple things that is not even tech. It's as simple as just being available when they need, and not having, all these shiny things that distract them, but simply being there and answering the phone when they've got a deal on a Friday night that's going south and they don't know what to do. And sometimes it's about the money, sometimes it's about, other things, but really just stopping and listening to what their needs. They'll tell you what they need. And some of that other stuff is nice, but at the end of the day, they're going to tell you more than what you probably need to know. And like the old saying goes, there's one mouth and two ears for a reason. And I think sometimes we forget that in sales because we want to sell our product or what we're offering, but we have to just listen to people.
If I was going to add to this topic as well, Kevin, one thing on the technology side that I'm always looking at with the team is where can we use our technology and systems to build trust versus erode it, right? And every opportunity really introducing a system, an approach, whether it's with an agent or with a customer is really, that opportunity, right? So as you have a new agent and you're bringing them on, they've heard your value proposition. One of the very first things they're going to do is kind of onboard, right? And have these checklists and kind of get into your systems. And if that experience can be really smooth, which is something we focused, exceptionally on for our Bold Trail back office, that starts to really have the experience of your value prop coming to life in the onboarding process itself. And we have that for the same way a bit for our consumers on Home Search AI. We're just constantly kind of tracking their kind of high intent signals for, is there a homeowner who you had a transaction with a couple of years ago and now they're starting to think, hey, is it time again to start looking? And as they start to look on your page or to favorite houses, those high intent signals go straight to the agent in real time in the Streams app. And it's just presented as, hey, here's a great time, to get in front of your customer. And that again starts to build trust between the client and the agent and the broker in really building and providing those tools that help them to build their business.
So I got a follow-up for that because that was great. Earlier on, when you were introducing yourself, you talked about how you really are participating or had experienced where brokerages or companies had disparate parts of their tech stack, almost like a brown hood on a green Chevy. And so as we're talking about shiny objects and laundry listing, all these different pieces of our value proposition and related to relationships, with tech, how do you work with brokerages in terms of bringing that tech stack down so there's a very clear piece to the value proposition there?
Yeah, so I would say that that I have, complete respect and appreciation for like how brokers build their business and their tech stacks. Every business is different, every location is different, and the needs of that team. And so we see a diverse array of, number of tools. There are some teams operating on 15, 20 tools. And, sometimes those agents have to kind of go in and out. And there are other ones who are very streamlined and even using Bold Trail front office, back office, kind of end to end. So we see it all and build for it all. And that's actually our Streams app that launched last week is really designed to be that kind of one interface for an agent, an AI mobile workspace where they can understand the needs of their customers and the expectations of their team lead and their brokers all in one central space. So it doesn't really matter if the broker is swapping out tools on the back end. They have a very seamless, easy place to connect, and the broker owner or the team lead, can really be curating their tech stack to meet their needs.
I think we'll hear more about that Streams app coming up in a little bit. Thank you, Julia. Let's go to a hot topic. It's a consistently hot topic, right? It's recruiting. We all know we need to grow at some point. Otherwise, if the common phrase is, if you're not growing, you're dying. but there's different perspectives to recruiting. And with this, I'd love to start with you, Brian, and I'm really interested to get the take that you have in the market you are, with the size you are, and with what you led with at the beginning, which is where making sure the right people are on the bus. Tell us a little bit about how you view recruiting.
Well, I think recruiting's overused, and I almost feel like it's kind of a dirty word almost, because in a small town like ours, everybody pretty much knows everybody, and you're pulling from a very similar pool of people that, it's robbing Paul to pay Peter because you're stealing from somebody else's office, or you're trying to attract somebody new. So, my school of thought is to not necessarily go into it from the standpoint of true recruiting, but from attracting people, letting people see what I do, what our agents do, see our brand. Luke is loud and orange. It stands out. It's a conversation starter. But people are curious and they see those things and they want to learn more about what is Luke, what is Next Home, whatever your brand may be, and just let them see what you do on a daily basis. It's quality work, it's good work. And then from my experience, people want to be with people that do those things and let that stand for itself. I mean, I don't do the cringy calls from a third party that are trying to recruit, or the text messages and things like that. I've gotten those as a broker, and I'm thinking, how crazy are you that I own my own company and you have somebody calling me? That just goes to show how out of touch they are with the true relationship of this business. And it just turns me off. And I don't think that's the right way to do it. You don't get the right people on the bus by doing that. I'm extremely small compared to what you have in Georgia, Deanne. I can't imagine that many agents. But to your point earlier, Kevin, the right people on the bus and what I said is, I think, really important in this business, because I take a lot of risk with the people that work with me, underneath of me, with holding their license. And I want to make sure that those people are doing what I would be doing and that I want done correctly, so that, at the end of the day, if something terrible were to happen, it's my license and the state is going to come to me and ask me questions. So that I want the people that are working with me to have the same values that I have. And I think the agents that work for me appreciate that we're all on the same page and we all have that same culture and belief. And at the end of the day, the same goals as well.
It's great. You really live your value proposition. And I've worked in many markets like yours where, there are many different relationships to this conversation. It's obviously with agents, and it's with our staff, and it's with consumers, but I think also peers, because you have a lot of other broker owners in the same market. And I have to assume that you have pretty close relationships with each of them. And the way you approach this could damage those relationships as well.
Absolutely. I mean, word travels fast in a small town. And, if it's good or bad, it's going to travel. So you have to be careful, because we're all on the same boards and committees at the local offices as far as, that goes. So people know, and you have to be careful about that, but also respect each other at the end of the day, because we each have individual businesses to run.
So the way you're approaching it is really through attraction, by living those values you talk about. Deanne, tell us a little bit about your approach to recruiting in Georgia.
Like Brian, I'd like to kind of sunset the word recruiting from the vernacular of real estate, military recruits, right? Nobody wants to be recruited, really. I mean, like, you want to be selected. You want to have an attraction with where you're going to spend your next chapter of your life. I mean, sometimes you'll use the dating analogy, right? Let's take time to get to know one another. I certainly don't want to be recruited into a relationship. I want to know that who I'm going to invest my time with, and who's going to moreover invest their time with me and give me that gift, that we have chemistry, that we have alignment, that we can communicate, that particularly during the difficult times, that we won't just shut down, but we'll know that that's during the tough times that we're going to get stronger and we're going to get better. And so I couldn't agree more with Brian on the kind of mindset, and kudos to you, Brian, because you are raising the bar with the standards you're bringing, and people are known by the company they keep. And I think that is so essential in the industry that we're in, where we're charged with people's livelihood. their biggest decisions, their financial wealth, their generational wealth. So I'm right there, Kevin, with, the word to me, when I have the privilege, I consider it a privilege when an agent gives us the opportunity to get to know them and wants to learn more about us. That's a privilege. That's a gift. And maybe it's not going to be a right fit on either side of the relationship, but we want to take the time to see, can we help that person? Are they looking to grow? Are they coachable? Are they willing to take our help? Can we work together and walk hand in hand through the good times, which we love those, right? But also the difficult times and the difficult transactions. We've got to be in alignment is one of my biggest words. And, having been in this business 3 decades, I can't tell you the first time I heard it. And I actually tried to research it. It's been cited by different people and become kind of a nomenclature now. But, the first R in recruiting, that word that I don't like, is retention. If we can keep the people that have made a choice to be with us and given us their loyalty, and we've been charged with that ownership of helping guide their career and their clients' next chapters, that's where we win. That's where you win the day, because those agents, if we can keep satisfied and keep them scaling and keep them growing and make their job more simplistic so they can be out doing what they're best at doing, which is being with the people, then it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. People will stay. The revolving door will not keep swinging. It will attract others. And something I'm so proud of in our company is with 1,250 agents, we track the number of agents, not only in the industry, but how many have stayed with us for over 2 decades. And we have well over 10 to 15% of our agents that have been in the business, not just in the business, but with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Georgia Properties, and our company. That to me speaks volumes. Likewise, if an agent does make a move elsewhere, we treat them with grace, we treat them with courtesy, we respect their decision. We try to learn how we missed, where we let them down, but we keep that door open. And recently we brought home over 74 associates that had gone elsewhere. And to me, that's not retention, that's not recruiting, that's families that are committed to this industry for a long time. And I get excited about that. And that's why I love what I do.
Touched on quite a few things there that I want to highlight, but Julia, I want to go to you first. And I want to ask you, because this, when we talk about retention and it being a leader, you brought up onboarding early on.
Mhm.
And so there's no better recruiting tactic. You know what, Deanna, I'm not going to say the word anymore. I'm going to make everyone happy. I need to come up with another word. But
Set the trend. Let's do it right here today.
Project X. But Julia, yeah, tell us your thoughts here.
Yeah, for sure. So I do truly believe like retention really starts actually in I'm going to say the bad word, in the recruiting process itself, right? That's when they're learning your value proposition. They're also learning if you are who you say you are, right? And then I don't think that's ever truer than in the onboarding process itself, where you're coming in as a fresh new agent, having to learn new systems, understand a whole new way of working. And, are the processes and the technology and the teams and the systems and the people, are they actually all set up to help you succeed or not? And that's, can really be a huge moment for building trust, or a moment that trust gets eroded, right? And so I think it's an incredibly fragile, important part, which is why it's such an important kind of part of our Bold Trail back office system. It's really focusing on the onboarding and the checklist and making every agent successful. I also wanted to add, there was, a comment about how important the peer network is for brokers. And we've seen it be really effective for agents as well, right? And so I've seen customers who, kind of during, if there's an agent kind of co-op a kind of situation where they're working with someone else who's not part of your broker ownership, right? Or part of your brokerage. That's really a natural moment to ask, hey, how is this agent doing? Like, would you want to work alongside this person every day? And those also get built into Bold Trail, where they're, the ability to kind of turn your existing agents into a recruiting engine, into, having these really, really exuberant promoters of your business, and the ability to kind of to reach out to other agents who know them. And, it's really just part of helping your best agents become your best advocates.
Agents talk, right? Brian, you said word travels fast. So
It does.
Julia, to your point, they'll either say wonderful things or they'll say not so great things. And especially right after that onboarding, when someone had just made a move to your brokerage, that's when their previous colleagues or others in the industry are asking them, hey, how's it going? Why'd you make the move? What's happening? And it will either be a raving fan or it could be the opposite. So that process, so important.
And it valued, like the agent feels like they're valued too because they're given their input. So in my head, they're more likely to stay because they feel like you're listening, they want your feedback, and they feel like they're a part of the family and the value and a part of the company, and they appreciate that.
Absolutely. So what do you think? Well, let's take it. I don't think either of you are experiencing this today, but you have a retention problem or something is brewing. So let's say someone that's attending, someone that's watching this, what does that person need to do? And what would you do in their shoes if they feel a retention issue brewing? And Deanne, let's start with you.
We'd be naive if we didn't realize that people have choices and they could be anywhere, any day. And it's up to us to do our very best every day to keep that relationship moving forward. So you've got to start with the end in mind, and that's every day. What are we doing to ensure that we deepen that relationship? Right now, ask yourself if you're a leader or a manager or CEO, when's the last time you had a human voice-to-voice connection or contact, or did your next line of leadership have that with each of your people? At the end of the day, because out of sight, out of mind, and that's the easiest chance for breakage to happen. And Brian made a comment about at different size offices. Well, we have 24 different locations that are small, and they're in a small community, and they're known in the agents co-op. So now we just kind of have to scale that across the 24 locations across our state of Georgia. And to me, you've got to ask yourself every day this question: would you work for you? Would you be a part of your brand? Would you be a part of your company? Would you rise every day and be excited to be in the culture, the ecosystem? That was one of the hardest pieces of advice I was ever given, but it was one of the best pieces of advice that I was given from a mentor, to ask yourself every day. And, look, we can all be better and we'll all make mistakes and we can always grow. But asking those types of questions will help you know that you're doing. And Brian, you said it earlier, and I want to just chime in on this. We need to listen more. Listen to what our people want. I do listening tours. That's one of my most rewarding things I do in my seat, is where I can go get with a small group of agents or go out into a branch. I prefer to be out in our offices and not here at this desk, because that's where I can learn. I can get my finger on the pulse. Are there issues? Is there a cultural problem? Do we have a disconnect somewhere, whether it's through a department, through a customer service experience that one of our agents has had with someone on staff? And we have to ask those critical conversations to get us better. Because yes, Julia, we need our agents as our advocates. They've got to be our allies, and they've got to be advocating for who we are. And then when you do have breakage, because it's inevitable, everybody's coming and going at some point, just don't know when. That was another hard piece of advice I was taught by a mentor. And it may not be today, hopefully not today, hopefully not tomorrow, hopefully not next year, but at some point, everyone is coming and going. But when they go, find out why. And then stay in touch. If it's a right fit, don't lose sight of that. Be their biggest cheerleader, even if they step somewhere else, because they may come back home and we'll be here waiting with open arms.
Yeah. Thank you, Deanne. I think that something I want to highlight one more time is just you said it multiple times, and everyone on this panel knows it, and everyone listening knows it, but listening is one of the most important skills that we can practice. And actually listening to what agents are telling us, whether it's through their words or it's through their actions and their participation in what you're doing at the brokerage level. And so listening or asking questions also applies to ourselves. I love that question you said, which is ask yourself, would you join your own brokerage? Would you be proud to work at your own brokerage? I think that's super smart. Brian, let's go to you real quick. I think that there's we often overlook a specific relationship. We're so focused on agents and on consumers. What about staff? What about your team? I know you've got a small brokerage, so you don't have this wild staff roster. But what does it look like there so that you continue to form relationships with your team?
Yeah, so it's kind of evolved over time. When I first kind of realized that I needed some help, I thought, well, I'll try a virtual option first. And that didn't work. It was really hard with the time differences and where they were working, and hard to really build that relationship and kind of get them up to speed on what the company culture and everything was. That you just don't get that same connection with someone that you don't see every day. So I realized that was not working for the business. I needed to change that. So switched to someone in person, found the right person. Really, I had a hard time handing a lot of the day-to-day things off and trusting that someone could do that. But I think it's all about finding, again, the right people on the bus that you can trust, that match and they fit kind of what you need, and they believe in the same things that you do, and realizing they're a benefit, they're a tool. I think oftentimes as brokers, we feel like we can do things better than anybody else can, and we don't want to hand things off, but that's not the case. And we can't continue to do that if we want to grow the business. It's not easy finding those people, but it takes time. And if you're doing the right things every day, those people want to come work with you. So small staff, but it's the right people that I would let them do anything.
So important. Julie, I want to go to you from especially coming from outside of the industry and your perspective as it relates to staff culture and really fostering those relationships with a team that supports our agents and ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the same principles around building a relationship, right? And those are grounded in curiosity and respect. And that's for our consumers, our customers, that's for our agents, and that's for our staff, right? And so I think from a technology perspective, it's really building our tools to be incredibly inclusive and building for every stakeholder, and helping them look great, right? I mean, staff are truly the unsung heroes of every single one of our offices, right? I see it myself in every day talking with office admins who are just like doing their dangest, sometimes with tools that are just not built for them. And so I think having really considering them as key stakeholders, B, asking their opinion. If you want to know what's up in an office, you ask the staff. They know what's up. And ensuring that your approach to technology solutions is incredibly inclusive and solves for them and their world as well.
I love that you said that. If you can make a staff or a team member a hero, if they can be a hero to the agents, they're with you, and you can enable them to do that, whether it's through tech or support, whatever it might be. That team member feels great being a part of your team, right?
Yeah, and they feel so good solving problems, right? We all come to work every day. Like, we want to solve problems. We want to be successful. We want to make people happy. And so how can our tools, processes, technologies, that's what I really focus on, right? Like, how can we help everybody who uses our technology look great?
Yes. Yes. And I've got one more question on this point, and then we're going to move on. Deanne, you brought up bad times a few times already during this conversation. Does your approach to relationships or how you interact with staff and agents, does it change from boom times to the quote unquote bad times?
And I talk about the difficult times because a lot of people don't want to, but this is life, right? And you've got to be able to be real about it. And so does the approach change? Probably not, because if you care every day on the good and the difficult ones, you're going to be consistent. We're working with people who, again, they're going to go through life challenges, health challenges, death, divorce of their own. Think about it. That's what we're doing with our own clients when we're helping people buy and sell. What are the motivators oftentimes for people to move? It's points of joy. They're growing family. They're got a raise. They're getting their first job. They're moving to an exciting new move. They're adding, more people into their family, whatever it might be. They've had a financial increase. They're going to the next. They're starting to invest. It may be commercial, but we're also called in at those points of difficulty. The death, the divorce, the downsizing that's not a positive one, right? Maybe move into assisted living, or it may be financial duress. So it's just like the people that we're serving out with our buyers and sellers and investors, our own people are going through the same thing and going through the motion to be their best for others going. So to me, it's as important for me to celebrate the wins, that big sale, that first closing, that challenging opportunity that we were able to relocate someone, as it is to celebrate their life moments. And it may be the difficult ones, but to know that we're their family. And I'd say that, and you can't say it without proving it, because it'll sound Pollyannish if you don't show up at the difficult times and be there for your people and let them know you care. I'm actually widowed. I don't know what I would have done if it had not been for my Berkshire Hathaway family being there for me during a difficult time. Those kind of moments carry you through and make the relationship deeper. And so I think being consistently there and present, and you're right, I can't sit here and say that I have an intimate relationship with 1,250 people, but I have the most amazing team of brokers, managers, staff, OAs, marketing. We try so hard to be that snowball, that network out to our people. So we know, on my desk right now after this call, I will handwrite birthday and anniversary cards. Handwrite. AI is not going to do it for me. Even my amazing CRM is not going to do it for me. My CRM helps me keep on top of it, but I'm going to write that personal note because I want to take the time and the care to think about the person or pick them up. So Kevin, I really appreciate, again, that question, because these are the kind of topics we don't always talk about. But as leaders, you've got to be equipped to help your people when life's good, the fun stuff, but also let's get them from where they are to where we need to go and not lose them during those difficult times. Even probably more so, you got to lean in during those hard times.
Absolutely. I'd agree. I mean, we saw, we can talk about bad times as an industry too, whether it was the pandemic and the uncertainty then, or it was the lawsuits and the buyer agency shifting. And what we saw, I'm sure you saw it in your markets, is a lot of broker owners and leaders backing away because they weren't sure what was going to happen. And the leaders that really stayed face forward with their agents, even in the face of uncertainty, and they led with confidence, and they actually, as you mentioned, Deanne, brought those relationships closer, that word spread. When agents from other brokerages were getting updates or information or confidence from your agents, that was attractive to them. And so we saw a lot of movement.
You registered something I want to say, and that is so critical. You got to be able to pivot when life happens. And I'll give you a perfect example. When the pandemic hit and we didn't know what that was and what was about to happen, I'll never forget that evening. We said, okay, what do we need to immediately do for our people? So we mobilized people that could help our people that were going to be having to be locked in and so forth and might not have someone to care for them. But we started doing webinars, Zoom sessions, into Teams every single day, 5 days a week during the pandemic. And then it lasted actually for about 18 months. And it became who we are and what we do. And it was a chance to connect with our people so that they knew there was something to get them, one, off of TV, and two, back connected with people. And in Georgia, we were deemed essential workers. So we were still called to the front line to help people move. And thank you for touching on that, because you do have to be able to respond quickly. And the lawsuits were another. The minute that day hit and we got the word, I was traveling back from a conference. I'll never forget where I was. We did the same playbook. All right, times of uncertainty, lack of clarity, let's start upping the communication, even if it's just to field the questions and the concern that people had. And I can't recommend that enough, particularly during the tough stuff.
It's like a crisis response team, right?
Right.
Brian, what processes, and whether it's daily or weekly, what processes do you have or do you follow to make sure that you're continuously in front of your agents and team?
Oh, so it's, staying in constant communication with them, knowing, what transactions are they doing? Is this deal going good? Is something going south on it? Trying to find out where they're at, what they need, listening to them. And then the simple things that are somewhat basic, but to your point earlier, Deanne, when it's a birthday, when it's an anniversary, when they have a child that's having a graduation or a child that's having whatever it may be, congratulating them, making them feel important. The little things that we oftentimes overlook but it's things like that that make them feel valued and they want to continue to be a part of what you're doing and they appreciate it. So, that's what I do. I don't have a direct system, but I have the CRM with Bold Trail and Streams to kind of help with that. I keep agents in there that are my own agents, but then also people that I think might be good to be a part of the company in the future. So I can kind of track that as well. So if they have wins or successes, I can log that in there in that system to have for that future reference, just trying to be out there and be in front of people as much as you can so that you know what's going on with their lives.
It's practicing exactly what we teach agents to do to build their business, right? It's just making sure that you have the time and you have the effort and the energy to do it. Julia, I want to take it to you now and really talk about technology, because as we're talking about brokerage leaders forming and creating and really growing and fostering these relationships, where do you see tech fitting in as an effective way?
Yeah, so I think about this on two levels. The first is the broker's relationship with their agents, right? Being the hero to the people in your house. And when you provide your agents with tools that genuinely help them grow their business, stay on top of it, you're saying that you're investing in their success. And so at Inside Real Estate, right, we recently launched the Streams app last week after a really successful beta program in Q1. And this is a mobile AI workspace that puts the power of an agent's entire business in the palm of their hand. And it really helps to surface those magic moments, those relationship building moments, the right time to reach out to the right person, plus an AI assistant to help them to act on it instantly, but still in their authentic voice. And so giving your agents something like that, right, that helps to build loyalty. And then as we've been talking about, loyalty definitely starts earlier, I think, than most brokers realize. It's really starting on day one or even pre-hiring. And that's really where the Bold Trail back office is really built to help with onboarding, contracts, compliance, and making that as seamless as possible for agents who really give it a really high industry-leading NPS score in terms of their likelihood to recommend this platform to others. So then the second level is enabling your agents to be so well positioned and provide so much value to their customers, right? And this is where I think brokerages can leave value on the table. And so it's not enough to hand agents a platform, even have some training or kind of have a person to help. They have to truly adopt it, right? And not just log into it occasionally. And that used to be a real problem in this industry. It's a real problem when I joined about 15 months ago. Adoption was hard. Powerful tools could be complicated for agents. And sometimes we needed someone in those offices, right, whose whole job was to hold agents' hands kind of through the technology. But that's exactly what we're determined to solve with Streams and our back office suite, really tools that are so intuitive, so prescriptive, that adoption isn't a project or this constant lingering issue. It's just natural to use, to pick up, to tell you what to do next, and you're kind of off and away. And that's really the goal here is that it just works.
Agreed. I think adoption is probably a fight that everyone is struggling with in the industry and has been for a long time, because if someone's not using your tools, it's not a value add. And as you mentioned, a lot of times what happens with technology is we launch it, we create a lot of buzz, and then because it was a project and there wasn't a long-term adoption plan or strategy in place, it falls away. And now it's really more difficult to launch it a second time. But technology can be really important in relationships. Deanne, how do you view technology enabling or amplifying relationships?
I think it's the greatest thing for what we do. And again, you're talking to someone that when I began in this business, the World Wide Web was just coming out. We were just getting emails. We didn't even know. I mean, I had a bag phone. That was a big deal. Whoa, wow. I remember when we first got our fax, when we first got answering machines, when we got a beeper. Oh boy, those of you that have been in this, that was a big deal. So to me, back then, I'm really dating myself, having Rolodex, that was even a struggle for some people to keep up with the people they were meeting. Keeping your files and having them in a format that you could readily go to. So this is not a new problem. If anything, technology has made it simpler. And Julia, I'm a huge fan of CRMs, but I even take it beyond the client relationship management tool platform. I mean, it is to me the solution to how, listen to me with the acronym, creating real meaning with the people that you're serving, creating real moments. If you use your technology correctly, it's going to give you time back to be out there with people, making moments, making moves, making real deeper relationships with people. But you got to turn it on. And it was the same whether you were using a Rolodex or keeping your files up to date back in the days of paper. Yes, we used to really press hard on 3 copies. That was what we did. We sat down at the dinner table with sellers. That was what we did. We need to bring more of that back into play. Be able to use technology to free up your time, clear off your desk. Don't use it to automate things that we should be doing with the heart and soul and real mind. Even with AI, there's a, Kevin, I'll close on this. I just watched this past week, it's been out for a little bit, but it's a TED Talk by the CEO of Microsoft's AI. It's a fantastic TED Talk that we should all in our industry should listen to. Julie's probably familiar with it because it talks about how AI is going to be the tsunami of change in the next 10 to 12 years. But we have to keep the humans, the realtor, in the driver's seat. We've got to be the one, as I say, with AI. It's not just about artificial intelligence, but as agents, bringing the agency piece into it. And that's what the CEO spoke about, that we now have an opportunity to be even more of the advocate, even more of the agency representation. But we've got to be able to humanize it and use it because the consumers received it. The moment we got rid of the old-fashioned thick MLS books that were outdated the day they were printed, when the internet came and we were able, and Brian's going, wow, y'all really did that? We did. So
You're right.
embrace it, learn it. And if you're not able to learn it, engage and surround yourself with people that can do it. But you're not going to break it. Try it. It's fun. And it's going to give you back time to be better and to be a better human for the people you serve. So I'm all about it. I'm actually can't get enough of technology, but it can never take the place of high touch. High tech, ample with and coupled with high touch is the winning solution. And it can't be an escape either. It can't be a scapegoat because you can give all the tech in the world. You can give all the pretty pennies, but if you don't use it, what good is it? And the consumer's going to be using it more and more. We know that. That's been proven.
That's right. And it's clear that, you mentioned humanizing, or it's a combination of using AI to become more efficient, but still maintaining that high touch, highly personalized, highly customized, et cetera. And one thing you mentioned earlier in this conversation was that as soon as this is done, you're going to write a bunch of handwritten notes. And so that's something that I do every day as well. I learned it way back when from ninja selling. So 2 a day, 5 days a week. And there is nothing like being able to receive a handwritten note in the mail when nobody is sending them anymore. And the way that I use AI to do it, it's telling me when and who to reach out to. So it's much more efficient than me spending 10 minutes trying to figure out who I'm writing a note to today. It's telling me all my meetings from last week, or who I had a great conversation with, or reasons to reach out. And that's where then you humanize it. So I love that.
Kevin, so often I'm writing the note and then I go, wait, I'm going to just pick up the phone and call them. I want to hear their voice, or I want to FaceTime them, or I'm going to send a video to bring back, and I still send the note. But you're right. You use the technology to help you put systems, help you put processes in a fast-paced world where you've got a lot coming at you. But to me, those are the non-negotiable moments, just like the mindset piece that we've got to keep protected and preserved.
Yep. We're going to move to one final question in just a moment. But Julia, I want to hear more about Inside Real Estate, because you've touched on a lot of the different products and a lot of what's inside Bold Trail and how it can contribute to relationships. So I'd love to hear a little bit more how broker owners and leaders are able to get in touch with you and Bold Trail to figure out how they can implement it into their business.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kevin. This has been an excellent conversation today. So before we wrapped up, we did talk a lot today about what it actually means to be relationship driven in this business. And I hope you're taking away is that technology, when it's done right, doesn't get in the way of that, right? It's what makes it possible at scale. And this Streams app, Home Search AI are a big part of that story. It's an AI-powered kind of AI workspace that puts real-time signals about your customers, leads, and sphere right in the palm of your hand. So you always know who to reach out to, when, and why. It's almost like the metaphor of the secretary who would take the Rolodex and take out the 5 business cards each day to reach out to, right? Like Streams is just doing that. It's showing you, here's who you need to reach out to today. Here's what's going on your website and your other spaces, and an AI assistant to help you navigate all of that really, really seamlessly. So if you're curious about how Streams and the rest of the Bull Trail platform can work for your business, there's a QR code here, and scan that. Our team will set up a personalized consultation to really walk you through everything. Yes, those are the details. And of course, huge thanks, Kevin, Brian, Deanne, RISMedia. It's been great to talk today.
Thanks, Julia. Yeah, I think we're going to stick with you though for this final question. You can lead off with this one, if it's all right. So there's a lot of attendees on the call. What's one thing that a broker owner or a brokerage leader can walk away with and implement right now to create impact as it relates to their relationships?
Sure. So this answer is tried and true in product management, and it's the same thing I tell my product leaders and my product managers. So it's really actually maybe surprisingly not a technology answer. Pick 5 agents this week, like not your top producers, they're doing fine. Pick 5 agents kind of in the middle of your roster who are doing okay, but not great, and have a real conversation with them that's like not motivated by a pipeline review or a coaching conversation or something you want from them, but is generally centered and grounded and kind of being along with, right, on the same side of the table, like Brene Brown would say. And just ask them what's getting in their way. What part of their day feels like a grind, and then listen. And listening often, it just really requires just asking questions again and again, right? And we can all feel this defensiveness as leaders, as CEOs, as people who've put these processes in and tried so hard, but like really listening to what's going on for them. And it's such a huge way to kind of displace our assumptions for someone else's lived experience. I think 7-8 times out of 10, it's like slowing down and really kind of problem solving that with them. There's often a tool, a workflow, a coaching approach that they already have access to or that you can provide them, but they don't know about, right? Because they haven't been shown how to use it well. And so there's often really good opportunities for potential out of that. But either way, it really creates this kind of just like very candid, clear-eyed view on your business. That if you have the courage to do in product, it's us talking to our customers. It can require a lot of courage sometimes, and really then sitting with it and using it to influence how you make decisions going forward.
Great advice. Really good advice. Have a conversation, turn off your internal sales mode, and just listen and be open to what you're about to hear. Love it. Brian, what's one thing that someone on the call might walk away and implement in their business to create impact?
For me, I think it's get back to the basics. Remember what we're here for, and remember it's about the human over just the transaction. Maybe it's picking up the phone, calling somebody that you haven't talked to for a while, calling an agent that you haven't talked to for a while, whatever it may be. Write a handwritten note. Just really get back to the basics. Yes, tech has its place, and it's a conduit to kind of help with that, but just do it. Whether it's starting to use your CRM, call somebody, get back to the basics, remember what we're here for, and go sell something.
Thanks, Brian. Back to the basics, never a bad idea. And especially when nobody is doing the basics, it's a differentiator. Deanne, what about you? What's one thing you can offer up that someone on the call might implement?
I would say be willing to have people give you that critical feedback. What should I start doing more of for you in your business? What hurdle could I remove for an agent today? Make it specific. What challenge are they facing that I can help you move forward in a transaction? Because again, we get sometimes broad, but if we can get more specific about what they're facing with today with a specific client, a specific challenge, a specific need, something they want to get out of their business to reach their goals, I love to try to get the specific. What can I do to help you right now? And with that, don't get always lost in the transactional questions. Going back to our topic, going from transactional relationship, follow it with, and what can I do for you personally? What could I do better for you to be a better leader, coach, friend, manager, partner, what have you? Ask those questions and then close it out. How many times a day do you say thank you to others? Because none of us can do this alone. And that is where you realize that the synergy of being surrounded by people that want to be a part of your team, and whether it's a small number or a larger number, showing people that you appreciate them and that it's because of them that we do what we do. We can never say thank you enough. And that's a good one in our industry now more than ever.
Such good advice. Thank you, Deanne. And it's time for shout outs. I just want to say thank you to each of you. Brian, Julia, Deanne, thank you so much for sharing today. This has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And for everyone attending, thank you so much for spending this time with us. There is going to be a recording. There's going to be a replay that comes out. So watch for that, just like it shows on the screen here. And then I need to say thank you to Inside Real Estate. So Julia, again, thank you for being a partner and producing this, and to RISMedia. Thank you so much for putting this together and bringing the four of us together, because like I said, I've really enjoyed the conversation. So everyone have a wonderful day and look forward to seeing each of you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
A great job, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.